Okay, so the reason we are making this video, especially heading into what is going to be the most important Detroit Red Wings hockey game in years, is because of a post made on the R Hockey subreddit that I stumbled upon, and some of the contents within it. So, sticking with the Red Wings and Canadiens lore, today we are going out there and talking about a guy whose presence and impact was somewhat felt by both of these teams heading into the 2018 NHL Entry Draft. That was 6 years ago now, which is kind of nuts. That was my draft season as well. I was born in 2000, so I was eligible for that year's draft. I was in my senior year of high school, and we had just started making YouTube videos about hockey news in that time span, so I'll always hold the 2018 draft in a very near and dear place in my own heart. But the reason we're talking about this draft is because of the 6th overall pick, one of the guys that made himself very noteworthy amongst fans of the Canadiens and eventually the Red Wings. Today we are talking about Filip Zadina. Because, as you can see by the Elite Prospects profile, he's no longer a Detroit Red Wing. Zadina is a 6 feet, 196-pound left-handed guy who is signed on till the end of this season, making $1.1 million, who was initially the 6th overall pick by the Wings. His draft stock was pretty interesting because if you go over to a lot of the scouting outlets, the lowest ranking that he had was actually 4th overall. Many people were predicting Zadina to be the 3rd overall pick behind Rasmus Dahlin and Andrei Svechnikov. And the crazy part about that season was, if you go over to the 2018 World Juniors, you would have seen that Filip Zadina actually dominated the tournament as an underage guy. He had 7 goals in 7 games and 8 total points, and it was around this period in December, actually, where we were talking about the idea of Zadina maybe even being able to go 2nd overall. Yeah, that was seriously a conversation that we had. Zadina was so good at the World Juniors that there was an argument to say that he could have gone 2nd over Andrei Svechnikov. And we even made a video about this on the YouTube channel back in the day. What if the Canucks drafted 2nd? And then we went over the entire hypothetical if Zadina or Svechnikov could go number 2. Alas, the 2nd overall pick in Carolina Hurricanes chose Svechnikov instead, and the 3rd overall pick belonged to the Montreal Canadiens, where they had themselves the opportunity to take the consensus 3rd overall guy in Zadina. We know that they did not. They took Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and then the rest of the draft picks followed suit. You saw Brady Tkachuk go over to the Senators. Barrett Hayton was the 5th overall Arizona guy. They needed a center as well, which is what prompted Filip Zadina to dropping to 6th overall, where he was eventually snagged up by the Red Wings in a pick that a lot of people said was a huge steal. Well, it's been a few years since then, and Filip Zadina never really broke out on the Wings in the ways that people wanted him to. The best they could say was, oh, he's improved his defensive game, he's improved his board play, he's gotten better off the puck. But other than that, Filip Zadina maxed out getting 24 points in 74 games 2 seasons ago with the Red Wings. 10 goals, 14 assists. He was not potting in 40 goals a season like some of us thought he would have been able to do by now. And last year, it got to a point where Filip Zadina himself stepped away and rejected the Wings, saying, hey, I gotta do my own thing. I'm making $1.285 million a year, but I can't be doing that on this team. I need to terminate this contract, and I need to go somewhere else where I could actually get playing time, because Zadina's spot with the Red Wings was no longer guaranteed. He wasn't really the guy that people thought he could be, and any opportunity putting him in the top 6 or in the top line or whatever was more so out of pity at this point, because everybody recognized that there was a super talented prospect there. He just didn't carry that over to Detroit. Now, it's been 1 season for Filip Zadina in San Jose, where he had signed his $1.1 million contract. His season has officially come to an end. And the reason it's come to an end is because even though the Sharks are playing at 1 more game, they're at 81 games played right now, Filip Zadina is injured and he did not end up traveling with the team as they're heading over to Calgary. So as a result, you had this post made on the R Hockey sub. After terminating his contract with the Red Wings, Filip Zadina's quote-unquote bet on himself season has come to an end. He finishes 6th on the Sharks in points and 5th in goals, but he holds the worst plus-minus record in the NHL. The Sharks will require a qualifying offer of $1.1 million to retain his rights. And if you head over to the numbers here, Filip Zadina in his 23-24 San Jose Sharks year posted up 13 goals and 10 assists for 23 points. He was also a minus 44. Now, you could debate that the plus-minus doesn't really mean anything. He's on the San Jose Sharks. Almost everybody on that team is a negative player. But it is interesting to note that he is the worst plus-minus guy in the entire NHL, which is quite staggering when you think about it, but then again, San Jose is gonna San Jose, right? I guess you could say that Zadina's in the same conversation as Connor Bedard, technically, because he's there too. But in terms of the point production, he has set a career high in goals with 13, and his point number is actually not a career high. He accomplished more points 2 years ago in Detroit. And if you go over to some of the comments here in the Reddit post, 13 goals is honestly not horrible on a team where our leading goal scorer has 23. Which is not that unfair to say, considering the fact that the Sharks are pretty bad. I'm shocked that the San Jose Sharks have only 5 players with more than 23 points. I'm not. I felt bad when the Oilers beat them yesterday. They looked checked out and or bad. Like, really bad. And if you did not see that, I mean, yeah, Connor McDavid and the Oilers, they decided to take it to town on San Jose. A stomping 9 goals scored on the Sharks, with I think all 9 of them being scored before the third period. It was 9-1 to start off the third. Connor McDavid, he didn't get an assist, his 100th assist on the season until that 9th goal. It was kind of wild. There are some other retrospective comments here made in the comments section as well. I'm not going to lie, I wanted Zadina over Hughes back in 2018, and I thought he was going to be amazing. Funny how things turned out. I was shocked when Montreal took Kotkaniemi. I wasn't all that surprised Detroit took Zadina, but I was so happy that Quinn fell into our lap. Honestly, I thought the Canucks were going to flub it and go with someone else because they assumed Quinn would have been taken and they had their hearts set on someone else. Now, if you go back over to that draft and we could retroactively look at this, I always say the same thing, but the reason the draft shaped up the way it was and the reason it was a surprise was because the Canadiens and the Coyotes both reached for centers. They only wanted a center. They weren't taking anybody else. Kotkaniemi was not supposed to go third. Barrett Hayton was not supposed to go fifth. These guys both got their stocks increased tremendously because of their position at center. It fumbled up the rest of the draft order, it screwed everything else up, which is why Quinn Hughes went 7th to Vancouver when he was pretty much seen by most as a top 5 prospect. Could you imagine the Red Wings or the Canadiens or the Coyotes with Quinn Hughes instead? Anyways, all sour graping aside, Filip Zadina has had himself a pretty decent to meh comeback season with the San Jose Sharks. It's good on the guy for being able to bet on himself and especially to take that step and say, yeah, I need to go give myself a better opportunity to succeed in this league, especially when it comes at the cost of millions and millions of dollars. He took a smaller, lesser AAV contract in order to leave Detroit and to head over to San Jose. That's admirable. He's really believing in himself, but the question is, did it actually pay off? Because his point production is pretty similar to what he was doing in Detroit 2 seasons ago. It's not like he's improved tremendously. He's the worst plus-minus player in the NHL, and honestly, when it comes to the rest of the San Jose Sharks, I mean, there's not really much to look forward to when it comes to this team, period. To end off this video, we'll read one more comment. Paperweight Coaster goes out there and asks, so was this a success or a failure for Zadina on a very bad Sharks team? Sad Donut 7902 goes out there and says, for Zadina professionally, this is probably a successful season, to be honest. He got to play in the NHL this year and will most likely be an NHLer next year. From a financial perspective, it's a bit of a failure. He went from making about $4.5 million over this year and next year to probably make it around 2.2. But he didn't have to go back to the AHL where he was unhappy, so maybe his future contracts will make up that $2.3-ish million difference. There have definitely been way bigger bag fumbles in the NHL. So at the end of the day, it's been a mild success. Not really the biggest embarrassment, but still a guy to go out there and do his thing and get some points and solidify somewhat of an NHL role for next year. You can't really say he would have been guaranteed the same with the Red Wings. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Filip Zadina and his transformation from Red Wing to Shark, and what are your opinions on what he'll be able to accomplish next year? Does he actually have it in him to go above and beyond, or will he stay in this mediocre kind of 10 goals-ish max per season, maxing out at maybe 20-something points? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99, and bye.